Hello, welcome back. I hope you watched the introduction video by now. In this video, we're going to be attempting the forehand counter. And in the forehand counter, if you remember this video from the previous series, we talked about a tangential way to hit the ball and a perpendicular way. So in the forehand counter, our aim is going to be to learn the perpendicular way of hitting the ball. You may not see the stroke being used directly in a pro match, but it is an essential building block. Anyways, let's get started with level 1. For the first few levels, we won't really be getting to a table, but bear with me. So in the first exercise, the aim is to get habituated to the shake hand grip that you would have looked up and bounce the ball like this. If this is the first time you're doing this, there might be a tendency for your index finger to slide up like this, but make sure you avoid doing that. Try your best to make sure that the bounce happens at roughly the same height every time. You can go to the next exercise when you get 100 of these in a row at the same height. This first exercise is just helpful in order to get the feeling of the ball and also kind of how much force you need to exert in order to get the same bounce height almost every time. Getting to 100 is important because it would mean that you're able to do this with your arm relaxed and no sudden lunging movements. It's not as easy as it looks. Here's my friend attempting to do it. This time what we're going to be aiming is to get 4 bounces at a particular height and then the next 4 bounces at a smaller height. Again, the aim over here is to do it in a way in which your arm is completely relaxed. Keep your arm loose and try to get 4 small bounces and therefore medium bounces. The transition from a medium bounce to a small bounce might be a little tricky because you would have to reduce the effective speed at which the ball hits your bat so that you can get that smaller bounce. You can move to the next level when you get 100 of these in a row. Okay, in the next level, we'll take what we learned so far, which is hitting the ball cleanly, and then try and practice the same thing with a ball. I came across this drill the first time at this academy called Starlet in Baroda. When you're doing this exercise, try to make sure that you keep your action as straightforward as possible. If you add some unnecessary spin, then that will make the ball go in different directions and you would not be able to complete this drill. And in order to go to the next level, again, you must get 100 of these in a row. And again, this is not as easy as it looks, and here's my friend trying it out. If you find this exercise too difficult, here's an intermediate drill you can do before coming to this one. You want to be able to get a steady action in these exercises now, before you get to the table. Because once you do get to the table, the incentive to just keep the ball back on the table overrides everything else. So if you've got these things in order right now, then it would help you later on. With level 3 out of the way, we're just left with one more level before we get to the table. But this one's going to be a little different. So the first thing is to get a little comfortable with how your body is oriented. Close your eyes and then rotate your arm to a particular angle. And then once you've done that, try to visualize this angle in your head. Once you've done that, open your eyes and then check if what you visualized actually matches what you're seeing. Okay. These things can be a little harder to correct later on because you would essentially believe that you've got a particular angle, but that's not what your body actually has done. You can do similar exercise to check the positioning of your elbow respective to your body, and also to check how much you're bending. Okay, let's say you take a stance and you imagine yourself to be bending a certain amount, and then actually take a video of yourself and see if you're actually bending as much as you think you are. So that was part 1 of this level. In the next part, what I want you to do is watch people playing counter, be it videos on YouTube, or even better if you can watch people on the court and watch how their shoulders are, watch how their feet are, okay, watch how their hand is moving, and just try to absorb as much of it as you can. And not just the visuals, but also the rhythm, the sound. Because you want to be taking the ball and hitting it straight on when the ball is at the top of its bounce. So when two people are hitting the ball at the top of the bounce, what does the rhythm sound like? These are some things that you want to absorb as much as you can. Don't try to make it intentional, but just stay there and absorb as much of it as you can. Once you've done that, try to visualize yourself playing counter and try to visualize as many details as you can. Details like the position of your arm relative to your body, how your feet are, how you're transferring your body weight. This level unfortunately does not have an objective target to say that you're done with this level, but this level I feel is still important because later on people never really get back to this point where they want to visualize stuff again. You end up playing the same way again and again, and this moment is lost. I'll also add some videos that I found helpful in terms of forehand counter, so you can look at them to get some more details about what various parts of your body should be doing. Now we're at level 5, the first level on the table. The drill for the first level looks something like this. Start off as slow as possible. At this point, you have a relatively steady action, but the action is of no use if you're not able to hit the ball with it. So start out slow, and at this point, you just want to get adjusted to the bounce of the ball and the various depths at which it can bounce and the height at which it can bounce, and just kind of predict it automatically and make sure that your action hits the ball. Don't be in a hurry or try to hit faster than you can control. You're playing diagonally, so the ball will hopefully land on one half of the court, but even then, there can be many subtle variations. But since the ball is slow, make sure you move properly for each and every ball. Remember the ball training and refrain from reverting to these kinds of actions just to send the ball back. Once you can get 100 rallies at this slow speed, you can slowly try to increase your speed. So, it looks something like this. And then once you get 100 rallies at this speed, you can try to increase the speed a little bit more. I would say that if you can get 1 rally per second, then that would be good enough and you can go to the next level. But I'd suggest that you keep coming back just to see, how far you can take this. For almost all the levels from here on, the goal would be to get to 100 rallies. So I just want to take a moment here to stress the importance of getting to 100 rallies. At the speed of 1 rally per second and 100 rallies, there will be some variations. The ball might sometimes suddenly come to your middle, sometimes too far. It might suddenly bounce too close to the net or bounce high. And in order to deal with all these things, you would need some micro adjustments. And if you're not able to get to 100 rallies, it means that you're missing some of these necessary adjustments. Another thing you do by going for 100 rallies is reinforce it in your brain that you are putting consistency above all else. In this level, you want to hit one ball slightly slower than usual and one ball slightly faster than usual. The aim of this level is to help you to get a smoother transition between various speeds. Okay, on to level 7. If you've made it this far, good job. By now, I guess you'd be used to the bounce of the ball and you can make a lot of the micro adjustments that are needed. Not only that, hopefully you've been hitting the ball cleanly head on every time, and the feeling of this perpendicular contact and the sound is second nature to you. In this level, we're going to change where we hit the ball from and where we hit it towards. So majorly there'll be these 4 courses. 1. Diagonally from your forehand side, which you've already done. Down the line from your backhand side. Diagonally from your backhand side. And last, down the line from your forehand side. In all these courses, you want to maintain the same feeling and the relative positioning of your body to the ball when hitting. It can be a little tricky if you think of it as you moving your body around in order to hit the ball from these different courses. One way that I like to think is that you maintain your position, but in some way the table is being rotated. So this helps you better to find where you should be standing and how you should be hitting the ball. Just the last one, forehand down the line, can be a little tricky because there's not enough space for you to hold on to your usual action. Which is why that course is kept at the very end. And in order to go to the next level, you need to be able to get 100 rallies in all these 4 courses. And of course, you can try the slow and fast thing in these different courses as well. In level 8, we'll be learning changing directions. So you will stand on one side of the table and send the ball alternatingly to your partner's left and right side, and they will send it back to the same side where you are. It might be a little tricky because not only do you have to consider where you're hitting the ball, but also the angle at which the ball is incident on your racket. In level 9, the roles get reversed. This time, you have to alternate from your left and right side. So So far you've been hitting the ball standing in one place in all the levels before this. But this is the first time where you'll also have to be conscious about how you move and how you coordinate your leg movement in order to still be able to hit the ball with the same feeling. So in this level of moving around, try out different courses and make it as challenging as you can for yourself. You can go on to the next level when you get 100 rallies in a row. The levels after this are going to be advanced levels. If you've made it this far, great job! I can't tell how much time it would take you to get over here because it would depend on the number of hours you're willing to invest and also your physical condition. But roughly assuming you're spending 3 hours every week, I would say you could get here in about 8 to 9 months. But take your time. I've explained the way you can check if you're ready to go to the next level and the purpose of each level. So if you're honest about your progress regarding these two things, I think it should be fine. With that, let's get to level 10, where the aim is to narrow down where you're hitting the ball on the table. So for example, if you're playing down the line, you would try to get the ball to bounce as close to the white line as possible. If you're playing diagonally, you will try to get the ball to shoot off from the side of the table rather than the front of the table. Another drill that you can do is try to play the ball as further away from the net as possible. I leave it up to you as to how many rallies you want to do and how thorough you want to be when aiming for specific parts of the table. On to level 11. Over the years, I've noticed that although the timings are similar for counter across different players, each player has a very unique way in which they perceive the rhythm and bounce of the ball and the timing at which they take the ball. So our aim in this level will be to play around with the timing at which we take the ball. So the first drill would be to play counter a little further away from the table. So now you're not taking the ball on top of the bounce, but rather when it's dropping. But the aim is to still go for a clean contact. In the next drill, you will try to take the ball as early as possible and see how that changes the way the ball goes. In this level, while playing around with different rhythms, hopefully you get a better understanding of your own rhythm and also how to upset someone else's rhythm during a game. Okay, in the last level, we will try to learn the smash. It's not a stroke that I'm particularly good at, so my partner will demonstrate it. So the aim is to take the ball a little later than you would in the case of counter and hit the ball as hard as you can with a clean contact. You might see the smash being used more often by players who use short pips on their forehand, like Mima Ito or Matthias Falk. No! In general, it's kind of difficult to block a smash, but it's also kind of tricky to execute it in different kinds of scenarios. we're done with all the levels. There are still one or two more other exercises which require the counter type of contact, but since they also require the knowledge of some other strokes, we'll look at those exercises later. Thank you for making it so far. If you're done with all the levels, then I would say you would have a pretty great understanding of just bounce and rhythm at this point. You still can't play an actual game with just forehand counter, but you can play a mini game where you restrict yourself to one half of the table and both of you only play forehand counter. The next video will be on backhand counter, which is quite similar to the forehand counter, but I will demonstrate all the levels and some points where you would need to be careful, especially in the case of backhand counter. Until then,